Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my What We Do in the Shadows Season 5 2-episode premiere review. And those 2 episodes are The Mall and A Night Out with the Guys. And they run together pretty well, so they kind of do bleed together. However, this really went in a kind of weirder kind of direction, especially with Nadja. Nadja's whole kind of bits in both of these episodes really fucking sucked for her. And that's not because I hate Nadja's character. She's usually given some really good and interesting bits. Here, she's just not given the content to, do anything good with. Laszlo's actor is able to fucking just rock with, the barest minimum shit that he's got. And it's like, okay, I'm really interested in seeing what Laszlo's kind of doing around here. And Colin's just kind of in the background for most of it. And, I think it's mainly because they gave him most of the whole kind of stuff that story-wise was going on last season. And we kind of get more of a setup of, Guillermo and detailing what went on with this. And I almost thought we were going to get a complete fake out again, but what we got is just more kind of bad luck on Guillermo's part, so let's kind of work with this. We see that he's attempting to tell the housemates something, and they really don't give a shit. We kind of get the understanding that Nadja was acting like an asshole and doesn't like that the consequences of her action are hitting her, and the thing is she sat on her doll and broke the legs, and Colin kind of fixed them for her, but essentially put the legs on that you do with the Santa, so she's just kind of flashing people, and she's just pissed off perpetually. I understand that doll. The doll I'm good with. Colin, instead of going to the office kind of sucking routine that he usually had, has decided to go into the service industry, which hopefully we get some more kind of funny bits. We get a little bit of just random kind of shots of him annoying a couple, annoying other people, feeding, doing that kind of stuff with nothing really standout funny kind of happening yet. So hopefully they utilize that premise well. In the second episode, we see that Nandor's been overusing hypnosis, and that kind of leads on to other kind of stuff where he's been utilizing it on Staten Island, and that it's been pretty much making everybody kind of dumber. And it's alright, in the first episode he's dealing with this book that he found in Laszlo's library of I'm okay, you're okay kind of stuff, and he's trying to work with Guillermo on that. And the thing is, Guillermo's trying to tell him that he's a vampire, but it's been 3 weeks, and we pretty much get the whole rundown of how it happened with Derek. And the thing is, it really teases a fake out of it not happening, and that Guillermo at the last minute says you know what, I'm not ready, but Derek only heard ready, and fucking tanks, bites into him, but hits an artery or whatnot, and Guillermo is gushing blood everywhere. And it's funny for a little bit, but then it's just going on for too long, and that's what most of the jokes have kind of become on a certain kind of extent with this. They had better understandings of how long to do certain kind of jokes and how to escalate certain kind of jokes. This, it's just Guillermo having perpetual bad luck with this kind of stuff. Now granted, he is someone who has Van Helsing blood in him, so that could interact weirdly with vampire stuff, but we had seen it kind of going through it. The first episode was oh, they're going to fake this out, and then Guillermo's bleeding out, and he's I need to drink your blood, Derek, and he's I'm a fainter if I see my own blood. It's whatever, man. And Derek does faint, but Guillermo is able to suck on his blood. We get this whole kind of spiel that oh, the toilet's clogged again, as his boss is trying to get Derek, and Derek's alright, cool. And then he comes back to check on Guillermo, and he pops up, he's got the red eyes, but it's been 3 weeks, and he's not a vampire. He isn't able to turn into a bat. He can walk out in the sun. He has a propensity for eating raw meat now, and that's about the extent of it. And everybody, the housemates are Guillermo's acting weird. It's oh, I guess we forgot his birthday. So they go to Colin Robinson's place. We see that the doll is pissed off and everything, and detailing with all that. Laszlo pretty much calling out shit on Nandor and everything. Guillermo finally getting there and being hypothetically, what would happen if a familiar went to another vampire to become a vampire? And Laszlo's as bullshit. That's the greatest humiliation a vampire can get. And Nandor's like, yeah, I'd kill you and then I'd kill myself because of the humiliation and everything. I'm like, you've been fucking this dude over for years, saying you turn him into a vampire and you're not going to do it. So, fuck you, man. Like, I like seeing Nandor's character and the weird kind of wacky shit he can do, but he's an asshole, and he can go fuck off with that shit. Oh, God. So that one kind of ends with us understanding that Guillermo is somewhat a vampire, but not really. It's like, alright. They also then go to the mall to kind of like, oh, I need a Foot Locker, I need to get my prescriptions changed. Like, I've heard of this mall, I thought it was the ramblings of an insane child. It's like, huh. And we pretty much think that malls are pretty much dead now, but they like go around, we see Nadja pretty much trying to go to a Build-A-Bear that's not a Build-A-Bear to try and fix her doll, giving her like fucking craziest shit, and the person by the counter's like, you want a rainbow submerge? Like, yeah, sure. Nandor goes and uses hypnosis on this chick to do these kind of coupons and stuff like this. Is an oil change that expired 18 years ago, and this is just a fucking photo of Seacrest to get this thing for Guillermo or whatnot. Laszlo is then being detective mode dude to try and figure out what's going wrong with Gizmo, and he's like the highlight of both episodes here. Him just going around trying to do detective work. Guillermo, of course, is talking about all this stuff, and he's like, I don't know what's going on with me. I thought I'd transform or whatnot, but I'm not. It's the strangest thing. And then the person's like, hey, your vision's like better than 2020. I don't know why you've got these glasses on. He's like, hey, can you give me like ones without prescription lenses? Don't want to think anybody thinks that I've changed or whatnot. And then of course Laszlo kind of like bucks around, and he's able to kind of like see the stuff, and it kind of ends around there of them dealing with the whole mall thing. Then we get into the second episode, and we get a kind of change up in the title sequence, seeing the guide now part of the cast, which is kind of cool. So they're pretty much at the house detailing everything. We see Guillermo in the last episode had gotten the Foot Locker from Nandor as a gift, and he's using it as a coffin to sleep in, and he's still having weird kind of things going on, so he kind of starts to kind of investigate. That's his main kind of thing for the episode. The guy pops up like, hey, I've been just sitting waiting for you guys to come back, man. And Nandor and Laszlo are like, yeah, we're going out with Sean and them, so whatever. And we see that Guillermo then goes off with Derek and pretty much tries to figure out what's kind of going on with him, going and checking in with the Baron and the kind of progenitor of the vampires, be like, hey, and they're like, I don't know, I've never heard of anything like this. They do the hypothetical of like the friend in Canada, and the Baron's like, well, maybe get bit by another vampire? I don't know, double it up? Doublesies? Let's kind of see what goes on. And this was like the kind of best little bit, because then he's like, listen, my neighbor, I turned him into a vampire because he would just be doing yard work and it would be interrupting my sleep, so fuck that shit. It's like the petty, like, it's just the great kind of juxtaposition of the Baron literally just turning a rando into a vampire because his shit was annoying him, but he didn't kill him. He's just like, fuck this shit. And probably draw attention, but whatever. And then he's like, alright, let's do this thing. So they pretty much have them do the kind of vampire thing, and he then drinks some of Derek's blood, and then he immediately explodes. And Guillermo was like, oh shit. It's like, well, evidently we know now what happens if you try and double vampire someone, so I would not recommend doing that. So that's that one, and that's kind of where that one kind of ends with everything going on like that. Let's see. Let's do Nadja's thing first. Nadja just keeps going on. It really sucks because I love the actors in this show, but she has given this shit thing of pretty much, oh, the guy's trying to figure out what's going on. She's like, oh, woe is me, everything's being shit and everything. It's like, yeah, we told you to not drink the liquor blood and to sit on your doll and everything like that. And she's like, I have no close female friends. And we just see the guy just being like, God damn, fuck you. And then she's like, well, I've researched this and it sounds like you could be under a hex. Curses are just superstition. Hexes, that's some crazy ass shit. And then we find out that there is a photo hex thing that is there, and Aja keeps like ripping it up and burning it, and it goes on a little bit longer than I think it should. And then they try and utilize Colin Robinson to use the computer to figure out what the Anapaxis, where Naja's from. And he's like, there's a little fuck, how do you say it? Antipaxos? Hold on. I know I'm butchering it. Antipaxos, yes. And yeah, he's like, there's like a little Italy and a little Antipaxos, and she's like, oh yeah, this is great and everything. She even eats some of the food and throws up and everything, and she's like, slaps Colin Robinson, why didn't you ever tell me about this? And they're having a good old time at this diner, and the guy's like, what's going on? And she's got to pretty much pull teeth to get Nadja to tell her what's going on, and evidently, if Nadja actually just does a random act of kindness for someone and makes them feel like a friend, the curse would be over. And the thing is, she doesn't even do that to treat with the guy, and it's like, yep, figures. And we get the whole bit afterwards of the main kind of thing for a guy's night out. A night out with the guys. Let me see here. A night out with the guys. And it's Nandor and Laszlo with Sean. They're at a wine place, drinking and everything. And of course, during this, we pretty much seen that Nandor had tripped at a basketball game and then hypnotized everyone to just make it forget. Definitely petty, definitely overuse of that kind of power. Laszlo tries to get out with like his wit, charm, all that kind of stuff, and his wisdom. But we learn later on that it's because he's not good at hypnotism, and he's kind of jealous of Nandor for it. Though granted, Nandor completely and utterly overuses it and kind of beefs it up beyond what's kind of going on. Also, another little thing that we got is that Guillermo also attempted to turn into a bat, but all it did was change his ears into like bat ears really quick. So he's got some kind of thing. He could be half vampire, half hunter, so there could be something going on with that, which my only problem with it is the execution of what's going on with it. It's still playing kind of status quo-y of keeping him where he's at, which I think there should be some character arc and growth and development on that front. And like, if you're going to do that, commit to it and then see what kind of other kind of crazy situations are going on. And the thing is, they haven't executed those crazy situations well enough for me here, which is sad. Like, if you're enjoying it, that's cool. It's not to the level that I've enjoyed previously. So we see that they're hanging out with Sean. Nandor almost freaking screws themselves over talking about blood, but Sean kind of misses it, and Laszlo's able to kind of like get Nandor to talk his way out of it. And then things kind of go nutty as one of Sean's friends just puts ice in his wine, and they just start fighting and break a window. And then this cop dude shows up, Terry. He's like, Laszlo's like, oh, Terry, they told me about you. They fucking then Sean handcuffs the cop dude Terry's feet, and they steal his fucking cop car and bolt out. And it's like, ah shit. And then they like turn over the police car in this fucking wooded area, and Sean's telling his one friend, listen, get rid of the gun, get rid of the bullets. And the dude's like, starts shooting off the gun. He's like, why did you do that? I'm getting rid of the bullets. It's like, oh sweet Jesus. And like Nandor's trying not to do hypnotism and everything, and Sean and the rest of his friends try and book it out, but Laszlo and Nandor get surrounded by the cops, and Laszlo tries to talk his way out of it, but of course they get thrown into prison. Laszlo comes clean with Nandor. He's like, please Nandor, get us out of this. And he does by hypnotizing the whole precinct, promoting Terry, making them think that he is the guy that landed the plane in the Hudson, and that Laszlo is Tom Selleck from Blue Bloods. And then they get like this whole kind of police escort to Little Anapaxos, and it's just like, oh my god. So that was the most kind of funny and enjoyable bit for me, with their whole kind of like weird, crazy escalation, mainly because of Laszlo and Nandor and actually having some interesting kind of character interactions. Laszlo the most with his kind of anchoring of the series so far. So we'll see how this kind of, well, at least season at the moment. He's my main one that I'm interested in because he's just able to work with the content. Now, granted, I don't think that means that the other actors are bad. There's only so much you can do with certain kind of content. And we have definitely seen that these actors, when they're on with great content for them to do, they're fucking great, and the show just rolls. Here, the content doesn't work for Nadja. The content's just basic kind of stuff that we've usually had with Nandor. We'll have to see if the Jinn pops back up with the wish that he's got or whatnot. If he's going to have to utilize that to just get fucking Guillermo back to status quo at this point. Because it's like, alright, so he's some kind of half-hybrid thing. And if we kind of like try and double vampire his ass, he could fucking explode. I don't know, man. Like, I don't mind crazy, stupid, bad luck stuff happening with Guillermo, but if you keep doing that, it gets kind of repetitive and kind of tiring, especially if you don't do any kind of, like, different kind of change-up. Now, granted, it could be argued that this is a different kind of change-up, but it's just like, he keeps getting thwarted as a vampire, and it just kind of stops being funny for me to a certain extent. It's like, okay, either make him a vampire, or make him give up and be like, I'm not going to help these people anymore, and let the fucking assholes deal with the consequences of their actions and see how fucking far that goes for them. And, like, just see him move on and see what that kind of does with the group. I mean, granted, I do like him in the group and all that, but sometimes there needs to be character development on that front. Like, same with Colin Robinson. We just pretty much got him back to status kind of quo. And even though he's pretty much still in the service industry, he hasn't shown any kind of difference from him essentially dying and then being shot out as a little baby Colin Robinson and being raised by Laszlo. We see none of that kind of stuff at this point. Or even if there's any bleed effect of Laszlo raising him. It's kind of disappointing. Like, I would like kind of actual kind of consequences and character moments for that kind of stuff to go on. But that's just what I've got for season 5 so far with these 2 episodes. I hope that we get better kind of scenarios and stuff going forward with our characters, growth, or even regression, any kind of movement, really. I mean, it doesn't always have to be positive growth. Guillermo can become just as much of an asshole as Nandor to someone else, becoming a vampire and trying to be a better master to a familiar, but then falling into Nandor's ways because of how he was raised as a familiar. That could be interesting, and seeing him having to fight with those kind of contending philosophies. And I would hope that they would go to something like that. So, those are my opinions on the 2 episodes. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.